It's all valid.
Well, of course it is.
Yeah. Look, for this podcast, I could talk about the problems in Syria, in South Korea, or France, but I'd like to focus instead on a dilemma, a personal dilemma coming out of the United States. Jacob Pina, he's a 25-year-old from Massachusetts in the US, and he has a problem when the cold weather arrives. And it bites hard in Massachusetts in the winter.
Yeah.
His seasonal problem is that when the cold weather closes in, he'll have a very hard time trying to find a pair of gloves, warm gloves, to wear. Why? Well, Mr. Pina is the proud owner of the longest thumbs in the world. His right thumb measures just over 5 inches, that's 12 centimeters, 12 centimeters,
Yeah.
and almost dwarfs the 6-inch iPhone he uses. An iPhone is 6 inches tall. His thumb is 5 inches tall.
Okay.
So to double his thumbs down to text, you know, it's very, very hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So um, it's odd how he uses an iPhone because the Samsung is larger, and you would have thought it's a little bit like a really tall man insisting on buying a compact car.
Yeah.
And he's always going to hit his chin with his knees as he's driving.
Mm.
All right, well, it's this guy. He insists on getting the latest iPhone, and they're making them smaller and smaller. His problem gets deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress on that one. His condition is linked to hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, or
Yeah.
HEDS, for all the medical students out there. This affects the connective tissues of the body, which he seems to have plenty of in his thumbs. If thumb's got anything, it's got connective tissue.
Oh, okay.
That's what makes them 5 inches long. When asked if having a massive thumb has any advantages, he mentioned, amongst other things, hitchhiking.
Oh, yeah. Pretty
It's
much,
all
yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't say you didn't see him, right?
Yeah.
He said it's always a success.
Right. Okay.
Um, Now, why this article came out now, I suspect it's something to do with why the tallest woman in the world, Romesa Selgi, who's 7 foot and 0.71 inches tall, and that's a lot in centimeters.
Yes.
And the smallest woman in the world, Jayati Anji, who's a mere 2 foot 3/4 inches tall. Recently, they were on Good Morning Britain.
Okay.
Why are all these things popping up now? Well, I reckon it's because it's coming into Christmas. And what does everybody get for Christmas? A Christmas present, an ideal Christmas present that will keep them interested throughout the whole year. It's the Guinness Book of Records.
All right.
Guinness Book of Records time.
Yeah.
Although I did look in the Guinness Book of Records for the longest thumbs.
Mm.
And it doesn't go, there's not a record for the longest thumb in the Guinness Book of Records. It's the longest thumbnail or the longest fingers.
Right.
Incidentally, the tallest woman, Rumesa, she's got the longest fingers.
Oh, okay.
Would be very creepy if I had to shake her hand. But anyway, because her fingers would reach my elbow.
All right. Okay.
That's some hands.
Yes. Yes.
So I reckon it's the Guinness Book of Records, which is why they are putting these reports out about these people. Um, so this podcast basically is a plug for the Guinness Book of Records. I remember watching the Guinness Book of Records, or Record Breakers as it was on
Yeah,
the
I remember
telly,
that. Yeah, yeah,
Roy Castle and
yeah.
the Norris and
Doris
Ross McWhirter.
McWhirter, Boris
Yeah,
McWhirter, and his brother, unfortunately,
Ross. He died off, didn't he?
yeah, he died. Well, yeah, he was murdered. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. He didn't beat any records. But there you are.
Okay.
Over to you on that one. What do you think?
Well, I imagine the guy living in America. Um, he if his teeth are chattering because he's cold, it'd be his Massachusetts, wouldn't
There you are. I was
it?
waiting for that
Yeah.
one.
Um, yeah, so I was trying to figure out how to word it in a way that my students would understand it
Uh,
occasionally, which I have to
uh,
think. But it's a yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think yeah. I mean, I grew up reading these oddities, these strange stories, which are interesting. Um, I mean, yeah, the origins of the Guinness Book of Records was so that people could sit in a pub and have a conversation about these things. Yeah, I believe, that's why it came from a brewery. Um, yeah, they're interesting. They're a bit of fun. It's something that people used to talk about. Yeah, before the days that you could actually Google something and find out, or not find out, or find about 15 million entries and not quite know which one was the most accurate. Um, it was always considered the authoritative end of the conversation. In that respect,
Stupid records.
yeah. I mean,
Stupid.
I
Weird
mean,
record.
yeah. I remember the McWhirter brothers. Yeah, their knowledge. I think there's the one who died who actually was the real knowledge, but then the other one took over. Yeah, how they answered the questions that was supposedly random from kids was always incredible for me. Yeah, it's a program we watched. Yeah, it had its educational side to it as well. But yeah, it was a bit of fun. Yeah,
Well, I mean, you treat the Guinness Book of Records a little bit like an encyclopedia, I suppose.
yeah, well,
If you want to know something, like I said, I checked in the Guinness Book of Records
yeah,
sobre the length about the length of this guy's thumbs.
yeah,
There isn't a record just for thumb length.
yeah,
It's the whole hand or it's nothing apparently.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, they used to go around with their adjudicators. If somebody was breaking a record or something, there's the guy with the clipboard. I imagine he's got a tablet now, but yeah, or something. But yeah, go around the clipboard and make it all official. With things like pasta eating and all other sorts of things. Yeah, I think there's a few they didn't have in there. Yeah, that people claimed the record and it wasn't necessarily the category that they had or particularly wanted to touch. Yeah. Um, so I imagine everything's valid to a point. Yeah, I mean
Ev-
it's what yeah,
everybody's got a claim to fame, no matter how weird they are.
yeah. 15 minutes of fame. Yeah. Ours might be just this it depends how you measure fame. Ours is probably this podcast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's it's a it was always interesting, like you say. I didn't think of that, why all these suddenly news items all appearing. Yeah, I think you can still get print media of the Guinness Book of Records. I think there always was an American version and a British version, but I can't remember the US version. It was
Well,
good.
only if it's a subset of the Guinness Book of American Records,
Yeah,
because Guinness Book of World Records, I mean,
yeah,
there's only one.
yeah.
That's
Okay.
the sort of the Bible, if you like, of records, of unusual records.
Hmm.
It's the whole world.
Yeah. I remember there was a couple. There was one, the longest guy, with the longest fingernails in the world. They measured. They got their tape. The person got the tape measure. Yeah. And then one was the most sweetest substance known. They demonstrated it with a cup of tea. And I'm just trying to think. Yeah, it's funny you go back to remember these things, and then yeah, there was a couple more. Obviously, I always remember them going to the highest mountain in the world, or the tallest mountain in the
Everest.
world. Not the yeah, it's not Everest.
No, it isn't. It's
It,
one
it
that's up under the water,
yeah,
and you only see the top of it.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to remember what it's called because it's got an observatory on the top of it, and I'm a bit annoyed I can't remember it at the moment. You know, Hawaii, I believe. Yeah, or near Hawaii. Yeah, um, yeah. So that was yeah. I always remember that these odd little things you remember from your childhood or growing up. Yeah, I mean, doesn't really affect us. Um, if I
It looks like the Guinness Book of Records wasn't wasted on you because you're able to talk about some of the records on this podcast.
oh
There
yeah,
you are.
yeah, I remember having. I think I had the 1978 issue, probably still somewhere back in the UK. Probably somewhere. I can't remember 1978, the green cover. I'm sure it's 78. Yeah. That was probably still reading in 1981. Not every record gets beaten.
And I
Yeah.
can bet you it was a Christmas present.
No, I think my grandmother gave it to me. I think somebody gave it to my grandmother and she passed it on to me. It's a bit, yeah, because I like books. In case you haven't realised, I like books. I don't read nearly as much as I used to read now. Yeah, I probably spend too much time reading stuff online now. But yeah, I still enjoy reading the books and trivia. Put me in good stead for my current role, actually. Probably no use to me until now. But yeah, it was always an interesting thing. I recommend, yeah, anyone looking at it. I mean, you would learn geography from it. Certainly learn geography,
Find out
some
where the place is.
yeah, science, space, astronomy. Um, yeah, and mathematics as well, general things, English, obviously. So yeah, it was actually quite an educational book in itself. You had to understand um, numbers, yeah, um, figures. Um, yeah, I just got to tell the readers if you see it go quiet, I live right near an airport. I think they're going for the world record for the amount of takeoffs they can do in an hour at the moment. So yeah, I found that interesting.
So anyway, people, shameless plug. Don't
Yeah,
forget, buy your Guinness Book of Records for Christmas. Thumbs up, especially not as big as Mr. Penis.